We've added a paragraph that references lighting. It's pretty simple. We will be discussing in the future perhaps a little something more detailed oriented when it comes to lighting with the Planning Commission, but at this point, what this is intended to do is basically to keep your light on your property and to not offend the neighbors. So we think that this does this without getting too overcomplicated. There will be a requirement for any producer in a rural residential 5 will have to obtain a special use permit before proceeding to develop a recreational marijuana business. You can also get special use permits should your proposal deviate from the regulations. That is a process that is generally available to just about anybody who comes through and they have a project that doesn't fit into our codes. That is an option that a lot of people choose to go through to try to find a way to fit in. There will be, according to this recommendation, a 100-foot buffer from any portion of a production or processing operation to the nearest property line in all rural residential districts. A variance may be sought under Mason County Code 15.05, which is the article that discusses the variance process, and considered on an individual basis, which is standard for anybody who can't meet setbacks for different reasons on their property. They can go through that process to see about getting a variance. Licensed indoor producers are permitted within the rural residential districts subject to the following restrictions. Level 1, minimum 5 acres. Level 2 and level 3, minimum 10 acres. Licensed indoor producers are permitted within rural residential districts on parcels 5 acres or larger, and all structures are required to meet the building regulations for floor area ratio, size, and height of non-agricultural and accessory buildings for each of the respective zoning districts in the rural residential area. Licensed indoor producers in rural residential 5 must obtain a special use permit. Outdoor production is prohibited in all rural residential districts. What this language means is that when you look into the rural residential section in our code, it talks about the size limitations for buildings that are residential, agricultural, or non-agricultural. And there are no limitations on the size of ag buildings. So what this is doing is making sure that whether it's an ag building or not an ag building, they will all be treated as non-ag buildings, and they will be subject to the restrictions of the building size for non-ag buildings. Marijuana processors, which is the next section down, has been revised pretty much similarly. The residential language has been stricken from there to just address the non-residential zoning districts. It also says on page 6 that they are permitted within rural residential districts on parcels 5 acres or larger, and they're also required to meet the building regulations for non-agricultural buildings and accessory buildings in each respective zone, which means the same thing, that if they put a structure out there for processing, and even if it is considered to be an agricultural building, it will have to meet the size standards of a non-agricultural building.